Okay, please join me in prayer. Our most beloved Heavenly Father. Father, how grateful we are to be here today. Father, we are so grateful to our true Father and to Jesus who gave it all. They sacrificed everything and put their life on the line every single day so that we could receive the blessing, so that we could come into a full relationship with you. So Heavenly Father, we want to express our gratitude and our attendance today. We pray, Father, that you can be here with us, Father, as we give praise and worship to you. And Father, that you can speak through the second King on this Sunday morning. Father, we pray that we can give our full attention, our full hearts, so that we can receive your word. And we pray, offering all of this with sincerity and love in the name of the Knoll family and all the blessed Central families gathered here. Adieu.
All righty. Thank you, Greg. Now, let's go to our announcements. November 5th, 2017. If you're here for the first time and or joining online, we welcome you this day. Sanctuary families welcome President Donald Trump on his arrival in Japan. Sunday. There they are with the Trump Make America Great Again flag. Japan loves Trump. Japan loves Donald Trump signs, and look at that. Beautiful. Wow. Tremendous. Beautiful, beautiful. Of course, as everybody knows, because everybody's prayers, and of course the Japanese brothers and sisters on the ground, Japan and President Abe, who is one of Trump's closest allies, international allies, won a sweeping victory, a massive victory in Japan. Very, very big, very, very important victory. Okay, so we pray, of course, for President Trump's safety and him returning home safely as well. Tea night was last night, every first and third Saturday of the month. That is here at Sanctuary Church, 6 p.m. For more info, contact Jamal Johnson. And yesterday, there are some pictures with the teen night. And of course, they're missing a lot of the teens because they're now in Thailand. I saw some pictures of them riding elephants. They're riding an elephant. I said, you lucky little Shmitas. Riding an elephant. Daggone it. That's pretty cool, I have to admit. I never rode an elephant. There we go. And also Sanctuary Church Kingdom Gospel Bible Study. That is Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Ongoing. Coordinators are Bill Brunhofer and Lowell Ellenson. This week we will continue our study of Paul's letter to the Ephesians. So join Bill and Lowell at 7 p.m. Wednesday nights. Also, video clip competition, 2 to 10 minute clips. Do we have a clip today? Okay, play that clip. Lights, yeah, you guys got the lights there?
يدفن في متر في متر يجيب له ايه اكتر من 33 مليون في الشارع ما بيشوفوش امي مش عارفين اللي حصل في البلد بسببهم قعدوا يتكلموا عن مؤامرات بيكلمني عن ايرادات في الخارج والداخل هو اللي بعت لي بريز وبعت لاوباما ويحتمي بيه امريكان هذا الرجل ما فيش راجل قاعد في الدنيا رئيس جمهوريه يطلع على شعبه يحس انصاره على الارهاب هو عاوز يقتتل صباحا كل دم حرام كل دم فاصل حصل حرام وصاحبنا محمد مرسي عيط طالما يا جماعتي غير ما يمشي محمد مرسي مفيش وطن شريف غير ما يخرج في المدينة احنا ورات نخرج الناس للناس ما كناش عليها نخرجهم زي ما محمد مرسي عمل ايه اللي عمل ده ايه الجنان ده دي مؤسسة صاحبة 17 سنة حضارة حرام عليهم ايه الجنان اللي شفناه ده ايه الهبل والجنان ده انا بقول لكم المصريين لو فيكم راجل شريف بيحب هذا الوطن عليه اللي ينزل الشارع ما يرجعش غير لما محمد مرسي يمشي كنا بنقول لحد امبارح او من ساعات
طب استاذ ايهاب
عليه
انا
انه هو
انا خايفه عليك
عليه انه هو
استاذ ايهاب ثواني بس عشان خاطري
عليه انه
انا
هو
خايفه بس عليك
يدعو الانتخابات. هذا الرجل انتهى وجماعته انتهت
أنا خايفة عليك.
ومصر مقبرة الإرهاب والتطرف انتهت خلاص أكذوبة الإخوان
عشان انت عندك القلب يا ايهاب.
النهارده ما
أستاذ
شفناش
إيهاب،
واحد
أنت عندك القلب.
منهم
طب استاذ
من
ايهاب
قاداتهم
اهدى، انت
موجود
عندك
في
القلب.
الشوارع يطلع هو
اهدى، هتموت كده، هتموت
هيبقى
كده.
في مواجهة مين؟
ما يستاهلش
هيبقى في
والله.
مواجهة الجيش والشرطة والشعب اللي جاب له ايه أكتر من 33 مليون
عشان خاطري
شرعي
اهدى
الدين
اهدى
بيقولها.
اهدى انا خايفه عليك
والله
والله
على الدستور وحراسه
اهدى بس، اهدى.
يوم ما عمل ايه على الدستوري حرام 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 حرام
طب خلاص ممكن تهدى عشان خاطري 5 دقايق صمت
اهدى بس،
اهدى
اهدى بس.
اصل انا خايفه عليك مش مستاهله
اهدى يا صاحبي،
الحكايه
حاجة ما يستاهلش،
مش
ما
مستاهله
يستاهلش
مش
إنك تروح
مستاهله
فيه.
اهدى طب خلاص
يستاهلش إنك
طب
تروح
خلاص
فيه. والله ما يستاهل.
فين العقل وفين
والله
الدين؟
مرسي ما يستاهل
طيب.
تروح فيه.
طيب نطلع
ايه اللي
لفاصل
حصل في مصر؟
نطلع
ايه اللي
لفاصل
حصل في مصر ده؟
نطلع بجوي اطلع لفاصل اطلع
ما
لفاصل
يستاهلش تطلع تروح
ايه اللي
فيه.
حصل في مصر؟
Oh my Lord. Dang. Boy. You see what kind of ruckus happening in the Middle East? Oh my goodness. Wow. That was crazy. Holy Schmeat. Okay. Enough of that. Okay, so that who did that? Did Gideon Roach do that? Okay, so he won surprise this week. Let's give him a big round of applause. Oh Lord. That was too funny. Kyle Yoder and Diana Schmidt will be blessed today, everybody. They made it. They made it. I told you I don't like to make a big hoopla about it before it happens, because the devil is always trying to attack. But of course, today is a day, so it's very good. And they're both here, right? Where are they? Where's the girl? Where's Diana? Okay, she's getting ready. Good. She's gonna be here, right? You guarantee? Okay. All right. Today, 3 p.m. Hey, they are doing some AR training there. Cake and ice cream. Everyone is welcome. Okay, also Freedom Society seminars. Join us Thursday, November 9th, for a stimulating discussion led by Kukjinim. In our most recent meeting, we watched a video of the Swedish model, Myths and Realities by Johan Norberg, and discuss how the socialist model does not work anywhere in the world, including Sweden. Very interesting things we learned there, especially about the education system in Sweden. That is at the Carms Factory, Lordsville, PA, 7 p.m. Okay, also 58th True Children's Day, 30th day of Opening Heaven for the Unified World of Heaven and Earth. That is Saturday, November 18th, 5 a.m. prayer gathering, staff meeting, 6:45 pre-program, 7 a.m. main ceremony, 9 a.m. breakfast, 10 a.m. closing. For this event, dress code men, dark suit and tie, women, white or beige, crowns for all kings and queens. Also, Answers of Liberation and Blessing, that is Sunday, November 19, 10:45 pre-program, 11 a.m. main ceremony, 1 p.m. lunch. Men, dark suit and red tie. Let's see the difference here. Dark suit and tie here. And for the Sunday, dark suit and red tie. Okay, white or beige for women, crowns for all kings and queens. That's November 19th, Sunday. Come on, baby. There you go. The King's Report Monday through Saturday. Join us 5 a.m. through 8 a.m. for your morning dose of Hundoke. Join our Second King for inspiration and understanding of current issues. Broadcast live on the Sanctuary Church Newfoundland, PA YouTube channel. I enjoyed, this week, how did everybody enjoy Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson this week? Wow. You got to check out his channels. Phenomenal. He has a show called The Fallen State. It's got millions and millions and millions of views. And he's got The Fallen State, and what else does he have? the Jesse Lee Peterson show. What's the YouTube channel of that? Radio show. Okay, that's his radio show. Oh my goodness, he is so fantastic. My gosh, I've actually seen him before he was on the show. But I've been watching his show. I've been so enriched by him. He's so wonderful, so clear. Oh my goodness, you got to see some of his videos. Excellent. He interviews all sorts of people on the Fallen State, TV program. He interviews Satanists and Tibetan Buddhist monks and I mean everybody. He interviews everybody, feminists and transgender people. He just shows it all. And then of course, he brings a very strong gospel message. So oh my goodness, what a joy! It was such a joy to talk with him. And he said he wants to come up, PA, meet us in person. So, hey, what a blessing to have Jesse Lee Peterson out here. That would be fantastic to have Reverend Jesse out here. Peterson out. Such a wonderful, wonderful brother. Also, Fellowship Potluck, join us for our Fellowship Potluck. Thank you for all your wonderful potluck dishes and for respecting the kids. The kids respecting the adults on lunch on Sunday, letting them go first. Please do not take food into the small chapel library. If you bring a dessert, make it a healthy one. If you couldn't bring food, $5 to $10 donation to cover the purchase of additional food will be appreciated. The food ministry team appreciates your help. Let's give it up for our food ministry team and our potluck people today. And do we have a bakery? Okay, we don't have bakery bake sale today, right? Okay, because everybody's in Thailand. They're coming back. When are they coming back? This Saturday, is that right? This Saturday. Okay, they're coming back this Saturday. Sunday school time. Reminder, all parents, please keep an eye on your children. Thank you, Sunday school teachers. Let's give it up for our Sunday school teachers. Kids, have a great time in Sunday school. And we will see you guys back. All right, there we go. There we go. Now, we're headed to our scripture today, and we are in Revelation 17. That's the one. We covered this about maybe a year and a half ago. Maybe a year and a half ago, was it? 2 years maybe? And it's the Harlot of Babylon chapter. Okay, and we're going to look at the whole chapter today because it's very interesting in the context of what's happening right now. But let's look at Revelation 17 here. And let's read together from verse 1. Here we go. And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials. As you remember, 15 and 16 were about the seven vials. Remember that? We just covered that. And talk with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So she carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. An angel said unto me, Wherefore did thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, which had the 7 heads and 10 horns. Continue on, verse 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. The 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and that I'm sorry, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are people, multitudes, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns from which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Amen. Okay, so there's Revelation 17. Now, we've seen this about a year ago. But it is amazing to see this after 923. Because we, I think, came to more clearly identify Satan as the world's first pedophile. Isn't that interesting? I mean, obviously we knew this, but if you look at it, he really is the world's first pedophile, okay? Yeah. And it's interesting, right after 923, which is, of course, in Revelation 12, and you have the sign of the woman clothed in the sun and the moon and feet, etc., the whole scripture. And then that actually happening in the sign in the heavens. And then, of course, on 923, we had, who was at that point Mrs. Kang, but then became a true mother, standing and protecting the position of the true mother, being elevated to the position of true mother. Now, you see right after that, you not only saw the Las Vegas saying, we saw all the different numerology that was included there, from the 23 guns to the 322 to the 223s to the actual building of 320 on, in Las Vegas, that the person's address was, all that kind of stuff. And of course the 322, which is the skull and bones of the Satanist organizations at the elite level. But not only that, we saw, of course, right after that, Hollywood start exploding and being caught on fire. And of course, we know that Babylon and the culture of free sex culture, and it's not really free sex culture, it really is pedophilia, and of course it is worse than that, at the highest levels being Satanism. Okay? And that whole system started exploding with now new revelations, just unbelievable. Okay? Unbelievable new revelations coming out from Hollywood, from people in the banking community attached to George Soros, you name it. Okay? It's all coming out what the elites are into. Okay? And you see all that happening after the position of Eve, who was the first victim and the first rape victim of Satan, was fulfilled in that position. She did not. She pushed away the temptations of Satan. She withheld herself and stood against Satan her whole life, from the very beginning to the very end. Even when it was most difficult, our true mother, Kang, true mother, was able to stand against Satan at the very final hour, the hardest time, the most difficult time. Give all her friends, her networks, all the people cursing her, trying to literally get her into senile home so they can drug her, trying her not to get her out of Korea, and of course saying that she was kidnapped. Okay? So we see all that kind of incredible fight happening. And we see, after that, you see all the different pedophile organizations being destroyed. Why? Because Satan has no more place to hide anymore. He could hide behind the Han Mother and the potentiality that that position was open, vacant. He could hide under the fact that, and under the guise that, God will bring her back and put her back in that position. That's this kind of thing in the back of the providence, in the back of the mind of people. That, yes, she can one day be forgiven of these massive crimes against humanity and against providence. When, of course, that's never been the case with key central figures throughout providential history. And, of course, at that level, whoa. Big time heresy. Big time cosmic level failure. Okay? So Satan could use that to pull on the heartstrings of people, even under Father's authority. And we see that throughout the different communities in the world. That position seemed to be vacant. It seemed to be open. It seemed to be spiritually, people could not come to grips with Father's relationship in the spirit world, right? One of the most common questions we got when people came here was, okay, so who is Father with in the spirit world and he's so lonely, this kind of thing, right? But God was preparing, and God, of course, sent our true mother here. We didn't know she was going to come. We didn't know she was going to be the one. We didn't know she was going to come and it's going to end up to be exactly 9 months, just like the scripture said. We didn't know any of this would transpire. We just had to speak the truth. That's all we had to do. We had to speak the truth and just release it into the atmosphere, and then God will let his providence unfold. Okay? So we saw that incredible history happening, that situation happening. And of course, the different types of revelations, and even at the palace, when Kukjang was preparing that place for the entrance, he even received, revelation that, you have to prepare a prayer room for True Mother. And, you have to, God is dwelling there. He had outside people calling him, saying, I want to come to that house because God dwells there, And then he had dreams where he saying, you have to prepare, Father comes to him and say, prepare a room for True Mother. Okay, so obviously we didn't know who Father would send, but he knew from a very early stage, even before we made the move into the palace, he knew that he had to prepare a place for her. He had to prepare that place for us to move in, and of course somebody would come with us. Somebody would be entering the palace with us in the wilderness, carried by the eagle that you see in Revelation 12, which of course happens, and she's in there pregnant for 9 months. And then, right after the ceremony, my birthday happens to fall right after the ceremony. And the first time in 40 years, my birth, lunar and solar, match up to be the same day. Okay, so you can't make this up, okay? It's just too crazy, too crazy. But now we are back in Revelation 17, and of course this is the other woman in the story of Revelation in the end time. This is the other woman. And of course we've seen the pictures of the Han Mother out there on the Macrocosm, etc. And of course all during this whole battle there's been a tremendous spirit of the fallen woman, the fallen dominator, that wants to subjugate all men, make men into slaves, wage war on men, etc. And one of its manifestations along the path was, of course, Hillary Rodham Clinton on the macrocosmic level, which everybody here had to fight against, do demonstrations, go vote for Trump, etc., which everybody did. Okay? In different degrees, in different ways, speaking against her in YouTube, speaking against her at the rallies, going to the congressional meetings or whatever, the congressman meetings and the RNC meetings here, whatever. In many different ways, everybody was activated, everybody was active in standing up against that harlot. Because you could see the spirit of wickedness, the spirit of Satanism, not only through what the Han Mother was doing, and total idolatry and heresy, calling herself God and worshiping herself, etc., and having the whole church worship her as God, which is, of course, the gravest sin and total heresy. Even when I talked to Reverend Peterson, he was like blown away by that story. But of course, he was like, "Wow, man, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy." And so you have that whole scenario happening, and at the macrocosm, you have, of course, Hillary Clinton, who was the main fallen Eve figure, trying to compete for the world-level providence. And of course, she was openly going to bring in what Antifa wants. George Soros was the biggest funder, right? The former Nazi collaborator, who is now being banned in Austria, Hungary, Iceland, Russia, and of course the U.S. should ban him and try him for international crimes against humanity. Because this man is putting $18 billion into his open society funds. That's reported by the New York Times 2 weeks ago. Okay? So the ban is, he funds radical overthrows of sovereign states and nations to bring in a slavery system, really starting it by debt slavery, and then slowly moving into communism, so then he can liquidate and take all the assets, and of course, do what they really want is the real Satanist rituals. All the different demonic rituals, all the different Satanist practices, all the pedophile networks that these elites are into, and of course, that's now coming out. Just this week, more revelations coming out directly tied to George Soros. Okay? So this is a sort of the spirit of time we live in, we're seeing in the last days. And of course, we saw the Hillary Clinton macrocosmic harlot of Babylon, representing the fallen Eve spirit, representing the spirit of the fallen woman who wants to sit above God, wants to dominate and destroy men, and of course, conquer and make herself God. Right? And of course, there's now talk now that in 2020, we won't have Hillary, because now what's happening to Hillary now, she's been thrown under the bus. They're now stabbing her in the back. Just like when they kill Caesar, they're all stabbing her together now. Donna Brazile. And this is the woman, for example, you all remember just a couple months ago, who was saying, Hillary is the absolute right. She's a prophet. She's a woman of God. You know, all this kind of stuff. Remember this? And she was selling Hillary like she's the second coming of the only begotten daughter. Okay? Which is Satan, of course. You know what I'm saying? So she was out there like, remember that? And she was saying, Bernie is terrible, Bernie is all this kind of stuff. And now she's tossing Hillary under the bus. And all the Democrats and all the liberal lunatics who were brainwashed. You were all wrong, I know. And you know, you obviously, you were brainwashed and you were victims. And now they even have to are forced to admit that they were bamboozled by their own party. And now she's saying she felt like a slave. Hillary Clinton was a slave holder. Oh, she was a slave holder, and she was, of course, involved in, sex rituals and semen and blood rituals with Marina Abramovich and these parties with John Podesta and children in bathtubs and jacuzzis. I mean, this is just ridiculous, and that came on the WikiLeaks, and we've seen all the documents on that. So you have this now scenario happening. This is just happening this week, by the way, okay? Just this week, you can see they are now tossing her under the bus, and they are suiciding her. They are killing her. Because there's no honor in den of thieves. She thought she could sold out. She thought she could trust all these thieves. Well, they thought also they could trust her, who were big crime boss. Works directly with George Soros, receives all that money. And now they're tossing her under the bus. This is Donna Brazile. She was like, literally, what was she? She was like the chairperson of the Democratic National Committee. The whole dang thing. And the fix was in, and she stole it from Bernie and gave it to Hillary against U.S. law, and of course lying to all their own people, because of course they're liars and a den of thieves. And they're a criminal organization, including the neocons as well. We're not for the Red Rhino Republicans as well. They're also a criminal cartel as well. But this is amazing because this is happening now, right now. They're tossing the main figure on the macrocosm, who was representing the harlot of Babylon on the macrocosm level. They're tossing her under the bus because they know if they're going to survive, they got to get rid of this woman. Because with the Clintons, they will not be able to survive. They're just too criminal, and everybody knows they're criminal. And about how many Bernie supporters voted for Trump? I think it's like 30%. 30% of Bernie supporters voted for Trump. So upcoming 2020, now they're saying Michelle Obama will be the leader. But of course, it's the same spirit. Michael Obama with the big shoulders, the football shoulders, and linebacker lats. Deadlift about 300 pounds. I mean, clean and press about 300. Okay? But it's the same spirit. It's the same spirit of the fallen Eve. Yep. Of course, railing in rebellion, railing against God and wanting to place themselves over God, declaring themselves God of all creation, God of this earth, God that takes control of everything. And of course, they always stand for the same stupid system, which is, of course, political Satanism. So whether it's Michelle Obama in the next 2020, and now they're stabbing Hillary Clinton just like it's a bloodbath. They're just raking her from the back just to get rid of this woman, even though 6 months, what was it? No, it's not 6 months, about 9-10 months ago, they were praising her everywhere they went. They literally were shining her, illuminating her on the stage, making her dress in white as if she's some kind of prophetess. I mean, remember that it's just outrageous because, the left is into illusions. And of course, they like the stages and they want the big fancy things because they know so many of their people are, methed out and on drugs and, brain dead from, being washed through the public school indoctrination system. And they just see like a big Katy Perry show walking on a big lion. They think she's a god because she's walking on this plastic lion with stupid guys dressed as ninjas moving the legs. I mean, this is how stupid people get. Remember that? Remember when I showed you that image of them, Katy Perry walking that stupid lion? And like literally young people who are not awake are so brain dead, so brainwashed. They look and they say, whoa, man, it's so cool. Look at that, take that picture. They're just like methed out. They're just heroined out. They're just cracked out. They're just totally in another universe. They don't know this is planet Earth. They don't know what planet they're on. But you have those kind of followers, and of course, they're into that illusions. They were literally trying to, manipulate the lighting on Hillary Clinton and making her try to seem whiter, making Donald Trump look like this darker in the far, trying to get lighting from the bottom to make him look ugly and accentuate his double chin, even though he's like 70 years old. You know what I mean? It's just so absurd. Playing all these camera tricks, playing all these little stage tricks, playing all these little politic tricks, on stage. But it was a massive battle, and you saw it on the macrocosm playing out. As the spirit of the Han mother, as the spirit of her opening up the door of becoming the mother of all harlots, because Babylon means the gate of the gods. It literally means the gate of the gods. And her on a microcosm saying that she is God and that father was fallen and she was born without righteousness. She's actually the Messiah. She actually saved him, which of course nobody believed us in when we see that 3-4 years ago. But now everybody can hear from her own mouth. Everybody thought we were crazy. Everybody said we were insane. Everybody said we were dishonoring our mother when we were telling the truth. If your mother's a cocaine addict and you say, she's a cocaine addict, she needs to be helped. People around her, you better stop, giving her cocaine. That's not dishonoring your mother. You're trying to save her. You're trying to tell people, hey, those people around her keep giving her cocaine. And because I said stop eating cocaine, stop giving her cocaine, they kick me out. That's not called dishonoring your mother. That's called trying to stop these fools from using her as a tool to, of course, do what they want to do. And that's exactly what they did. So it's very unfortunate to see, of course, we know what happens to that. And I told her when she first said, no, I am not the Messiah. I'm not the Messiah. I am God. She said that to me. I am God. I said, no, you're not, Mommy. You're not God. If you say that, you will be destroyed. You will be humbled. Father will come and punish you. It's kind of interesting. She never, ever said that when Father was alive. Not dare say that. Interesting how the theology just so radically shifts right after Father. She says, some alarm bells, But you see it, and you see the spirit of Babylon, the spirit of the gods, the spirit of self-worship, the spirit of hating Jesus, just go on fire in the family fraud cult or even on the macrocosmic level with the DNC and these people, these Satanists. Just mocking Christianity, mocking Jesus, saying Christianity is the most radical, dangerous ideology on the world, and allying with radical Islam and Sharia law. I mean, this is outrageous. Totally outrageous. I guess Christianity is the most radical, most dangerous religion on the earth because it protects children, it protects women, it protects the sheep from pedophiles and different wolves and predators. And it also makes men strong and gives them a mission to be the head of the household and to have the responsibility in your home, to represent Christ in your home. It gives men the responsibility. So it makes men into alpha males, but who are compassionate, loving, and humble before God and repentful to God. And of course, it creates the proper ethical system wherein which people will abide by contracts and freely associate and honor what the promises they make. Yep. Meanwhile, not falling to sexual deviance and sexual immorality, sexual abominations, which the Bible, of course, warns gravely against. Because we know any civilization, its fundamental success will come beginning from its sexual morals. What it allows in its sexual morals. That's why Christian culture, especially Protestant Christian culture, is so powerful. I mean, that's what Reverend Lee Peterson was talking about, the black community. They targeted the black community, get rid of the alpha male blacks. Get rid of the fathers, get rid of the alpha males that are good and loving, that will stand, as the head of their household, that will work hard and that will protect their family at all costs. Get rid of them. You got to get rid of them. Then the woman will marry the state. Yep. Then she'll be beholden. And then she'll be the ruler of the family because there's no more father, and the children will be ruled under her. And of course, he's famous for talking with Tommy Sotomayor, who's, I guess, is a director, right? Hollywood director, is Sotomayor, right? And a TV, radio show host, etc. Another Afro-American gentleman. And they were talking about how abusive many of the single mothers in the black community are, actually. They're beating their children. I mean, as a Korean, that's not that great. We Korean moms are they beat their children too. So that's like new news or something for us, but and all the angst and the pain with a lot of the children and the young males that are scared of women and scared of and resentful towards their mom for beating them all the time into submission. And of course, not taking responsibility, saying that they were in charge of the black home for the last 50 plus years, but you have rocket sky number, 76%, was he saying? 76% are, out of wedlock children. Abortion rates, 12 to 1,600 black babies killed every day. Marriage retention is terrible. Fathers in home, horrifying, right? So all these social ills, and they were saying, Tommy Sotomayor was saying to Reverend Peterson, the women were saying they've been in charge for the last 50 years, but they won't take responsibility for all this havoc that has happened in the black community. It's the guy's not even home. And they say that they're home, they're ruling it. But of course, it's always the guy's situation, the guy's fault. Men are dogs, etc. No, black men were one of the most entrepreneurial, most successful, highest college graduation rates before the LBG project in the 1960s. They had some of the highest sociological stats, getting the highest grades coming out of the highest institutions. And everybody knows that black folks, whatever they put their mind to, they almost dominate. In almost whatever they do, whether it's sports or whether it's intellect. Ben Carson is, for example, Johns Hopkins emerita professor emeritus, top neurosurgeon in the world. And it's not because it's maybe their race. It's not because of the point. The point is they're not preordained to be in that perpetual state of DNC control, democratic control. And now they're, of course, waking up to the fact that they are being controlled and they are being used as political tools and they are being, prodded along with Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson trying to always talk to them saying, we understand you, when they're using them and they worked with the former CIA on drug stings. Overseers of the plantation. And they keep drugs criminalized and put 90% of the inmates are there because of non-violent crime. And the prisons are also private businesses. And they're getting slave labor with young minority children, 24 cents an hour, slave wages. Through the, quote, prison program. Walmart's involved in that. Starbucks is involved in that. All these different companies are, quote, involved in it. Why are those kids in the prisons in the first place? So we know they've been targeted. We know the minority families have been targeted. We know at the very top, these Hillary Clintons, these Rothschilds, these Soroses, all of them. It's not because they're white that all white people are involved in it. Most white people are not involved in that, and most white people in America are, many of them have living in poverty, actually. Many of the Europeans would enslave Irish people in London and in England, and also would enslave Poles and different Eastern Europeans and make them work as slaves in the royal systems in Europe. You know, they were actually slaves. They were being raped and killed and plundered by the super elites of Europe as well. So you have this incredible situation now where Hillary Clinton, who represented all that, or that whole foreign power, trying to dominate America and bring it to its knees and mount its head on the wall and see it like a trophy that is finally conquered. But, and of course they wanted to bring that in with November 4th, and that's yesterday, by the way, and Antifa was supposed to take down all the cities, and they were pathetic. They were pathetic. They were a total joke. They were pathetic. $18 billion of George Soros money. You know, but of course, Senator Rand Paul was assaulted in his home. You probably heard about that. Kind of using those different protests as a diversion to start actually trying to kill, these liberty-minded politicians. He's probably the only honest one on Capitol Hill. And isn't it funny? He gets targeted on November 4th to be, assaulted. Isn't that interesting? Oh, I'm sure that's a big coincidence. Give me a break. So you have these people trying to literally, of course, bring down America, death to America, death to anybody who stands up against them, death to anybody who's talking about sovereignty. So you see the rhetoric is escalating, even though their application of it is proving to be quite pathetic. I mean, do they think they can go against the patriots who are well-armed, they're hunters, they're vets, they know how to use their weapons? Do they actually think they can start a civil war with these kind of Americans? They are plumb loco, meth head, coked out crazies. That's like a little child coming up to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I can whip you because I watched some dramas of Goku and Dragon Ball. Oh, yeah. And they firmly believe it. But it's just incredible that they're finally throwing Hillary Clinton under the rug. They're realizing that this harlot of Babylon on the macrocosmic level is a failure. And what's so interesting, at the same time this is happening, also we have inside intel from Japan, when the Han mother was there last time giving a speech, and saying that it was Japan's fault for the upcoming nuclear crisis that's happening in Korea and North Korea, so they have to hurry up and send more funds to Chungpyeong. Okay, so when they were doing that, one of the managers, who's also a hidden sanctuarian, he went up to Kim Young-hee, who was one of the bozos in the room that stayed quiet when mother said we're going to pull the plug on father, and they asked him, this manager asked him, so Mr. Kim Young-hee, what do you think about this only begotten daughter stuff, and why is she declaring herself God? Why is she doing this kind of thing? And he said to him, she is senile. He said to him, she is senile, but, we just have to be quiet about it. So even on inside already, to their own people, they're saying she's crazy. They're throwing her on the bus exactly like happening with Donna Brazile throwing Hillary Clinton on the bus saying she's nuts, she's crazy, she's not the future. That's exactly what's happening in the Family Fed with their leadership. Their leadership is telling other people who are asking, what's this stuff with the only begotten daughter? To the normal slaves who are the members of the family fraud, they tell them, oh, just trust me, this kind of thing. But to the managers and all this stuff, they're saying, she's senile. She's senile. See how they do that double tongue speak? So that's exactly a reflection of what's happening in the micro to the macro. They all know that she is a calamity to their power, which they've, of course, stolen from me, because they're not the inheritor. And, of course, they're trying to sue us and do those. So what? Sue me. Bring me to court. Doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you exactly the truth. You are in possession of stolen property. The money you're suing me with, that's my asset that was given to me by my father on 3 different occasions on 2 different continents, and you are in possession of stolen property. What are they going to say to that? So you see the micro and the macro again coalescing. You see, even though they're getting rid of Clinton, dropping her, stabbing her in the back, and tossing her to the wolves. Of course, she's so psychopathic that she's not going to go along with it. She's going to, till the end, claim that she's going to be the next president of the United States, just like she did about what was it, a week and a half ago, with that tweet with her 10-year-old picture saying, the future president of the United States. This woman is completely delusional. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This is how psychopathic and delusional these people are. They're so psychopathic. They're unbelievable. It's just unfathomable, the level at which they're at. But of course, you see all this happening. But at the same time, you can see in Trump's administration, there's also a lot of trouble. AG, Attorney General Sessions, is recusing himself for the Uranium One deal, which is ridiculous, just like he's doing with the Russia situation. He's not doing his job. He's supposed to be going after them, and he's saying, I'm going to back out of this. So either they got something on him. What was that? He's not recusing? Did you hear that? He's not recusing? He's going to go after uranium? That's good news, and that's good. Okay, because I heard he's recusing. That is a serious thing. If he recuses himself, it's a serious problem. And of course, he needs to be changed, and Trump needs to bring in somebody else. Because that position, he's supposed to go after these criminals. He's supposed to go after their criminal organizations and the neocons for the last, since, Bush #1, Bush Sr. And of course, Trump has begun to do that with doing the JFK revelations, showing the actual proof that these people were involved in the JFK CIA assassination. Showing that the federal government and the CIA has been lying to American people for about, 53 years now? Lying, completely lying. And you've seen the actual declassified documents that Trump released what was that, 9 days ago or something. You've seen it. You saw it. The Attorney General, the surgeon, the Surgeon General, at the time of Kennedy assassination, said, there are 2 shots, because he did the autopsy, there are 2 shots, one in the front of the head, one in the neck. When the Warren Committee said, no, he got shot from the back. Lee Harvey Oswald, one person. Wrong. The Surgeon General in the documents that came out says he got shot from the front in the head and one in the neck. Which, of course, if you see the film, that's exactly what happens. You see him go, boom, and he starts grabbing his neck. And then, boom, his head blows off in the back. And his head goes backwards because the bullet's coming this way. If the bullets come from behind you, it doesn't go towards the bullet. Any plumb loco child knows that. Just ridiculous. So everybody knew it, but now it's confirmed. It's legal fact. It's legal fact. It's been declassified. Anybody who says it's not is a conspiracy theorist. Because legally it is. It's been declassified. He's been shot from the front and in the neck. And the federal government and the CIA have been lying to the American people about the death of a duly elected U.S. world president, which they were involved in, which is the reason why, of course, they covered it up. Isn't it interesting? Right after that, George Herbert Walker Bush gets promoted to CIA director right after Kennedy got killed. Isn't that funny? And then once he gets the presidency, he takes over the whole thing and it becomes sold out to George Soros and foreign national banks, international conglomerates. Of course, you all know George Bush's family Prescott Bush was funding Hitler with his bank. And of course, you all know that when Father met George Herbert Walker Bush, he told him, you are the king of Satan's world. You are King Satan. Very interesting. So you see this kind of incredible things happening in the macro. Trump, of course, is now in in Japan. And it's amazing. He says, Samurai Japan, isn't that interesting? Samurai Japan should have stood up and shot down these North Korean missiles. He literally used the word samurai. Did a sitting president ever use the word samurai in reference to Japan?
Not in a positive way.
I've never heard that. This was a very positive way. He could have almost said like peace ninja. He could have said them, y'all are peace ninjas. You should have shot that down with some shurikens. But look at that. He says the U.S. president said he could not understand why a country of samurai warriors did not shoot down the missiles, the sources say. That is fascinating. That's fascinating. When we're doing all this peace ninja training and samurai swords and all this stuff, the President of the United States is talking about Japan and telling them, hey, you get in contact with your samurai warriorship, with your samurai heritage, your warrior culture. Get back in touch with that. You have to understand sovereignty and help us stand for worldwide sovereignty. We need to make a coalition. Exactly what we're doing with the Able UN, with Father's direction, to make a coalition of sovereign nations that stood for the able side and stood for sovereignty against worldwide communism, the worldwide globalism that they were pushing, and against the false UN, which is a complete pedophile network, protecting network, with the Vatican Church as well. But Trump is now talking about get in touch with your warrior spirit, nation. It's incredible. He's telling these people, trying to make them get back to their historical root. Even though a lot of samurais were bad, there were still good ones. Even though the samurai class was an elite class that basically were mercenaries, even though they'd be loyal usually to a daimyo or a leader. And of course, he's not referring to the samurai system as being sovereign. He's trying to say, get in touch with the samurai spirit to fight back against wickedness. Unfortunately, historically, most of the samurai were fighting for wickedness, for tyranny. A lot of them were. But the Christian samurai, of course, were not. That's why they were slaughtered and killed. Christian samurai, we have some Christian samurai descendants here maybe, right? But it's amazing, even though like some of the core things of the Macrocosm too, and training these young people, all that kind of thing, is peace, police, peace, militia training, getting back to the warrior spirit. The Bible says you are to be soldiers of God, to stand against unrighteousness, right? We have love in our hearts. We're not just killing for killing. We're not just learning dangerous things for the point of learning dangerous things, but to protect civilization, especially the kingdom that God is bringing. So it's so interesting that at the same time that we're fighting on the local level, on the communal level, and when I was explaining this to Reverend Peterson, he was like, wow, that's interesting, because I was telling him, even in the girls in our community, they're getting stronger, they're getting tougher. We train Filipino martial arts and knife stick fighting and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and firearms, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, whoa, man, where you guys located? I want to come visit you, Because he never heard of that. And of course, we don't teach them to be angry and full of hatred and things like this. Their whole purpose for training is to protect humanity. From the local to the world, doesn't matter where, the mindset is the same. The sheepdog mindset is the same. It's to stand up against predators so that you can protect civilization. Now, that doesn't mean we get involved in pre-crime and we just start going after people without, due process or things like that. That's not fair. And that's why a lot of our young people who are training are going to get into politics and take over local positions and things like this. because we work through due process. We're not like, jihadis who want to just take over by force. No. Force has to be in the hands of good people. And the way you manifest that in reality, in the system that we're under now, is by getting active politically. Is by becoming the local township supervisor. Is by becoming the police commissioner or the commissioner, to the county. Is by becoming the county chair. You name it. You see, that's how you start taking back the county for sovereignty's sake, sovereignty side, for God, and then you can start changing it, once you have that real political power, to then implement more and more Chinese Constitution. Which, of course, the real conservatives in this whole area, libertarians, you name it, will be supportive of. Because it's what they've been suffocating for, and they've been wishing that one day those freedoms can come back to them as they're being stripped away and their children are being hypersexualized at 5 and having transgender bathrooms pushed on them in freaking middle school and locker rooms. These people are crazy. What they're ramming down people's throats. So it's amazing that people who are being activated in the microcosm, young people who are training, learning the warrior spirit, with the warrior culture, but still they learn, you can still be kind, you can still treat people well, you can still get along with people. You can still say and stand up to somebody who's a wacko. But you can still be very kind, compassionate, want to help empower people. Do the will of God. Be humble, repentful, you know what I mean? You can still do all that. It's not like you got to be some kind of beast walking around trying to, fight with everybody. Right? So those are the kind of things that amazing that is reflecting right on the macrocosm when we're literally calling the group, when we send out e-blast emails, say, hey, ninjas. Hey, ninjas, this today, bring this, bring that. We're doing this training, whatever. When we send out a blast email, we literally type it, hey, ninjas, or do we do hey, samurai sometimes? We do that something. Mostly ninjas. Even Master Jojo's now calling you guys ninjas. But it's interesting that kind of culture is, the president is also evoking that same type of language. The potential, Tough Mudder and stuff that will be developed at Carm's factory and the tactical training areas in American Ninja type of, training centers where you're climbing stuff and jumping and, doing all these obstacle courses in the future. That also we're referring to in the development stages. We're still referring to that as Peace Ninja Park or something like that. Because that's actually Father's language. Peace Police, Peace Militia is his actual language for it. And then, of course, a sort of like a colloquial version of that is like Peace Ninja that we're using. But it's interesting that that's like one of the core practices of our community here, like one of the core for especially our young people. Is training physically, training in these arts, and of course learning the warrior ethic, learning, and of course when they get in there, they're humbled, right? Because I don't care how many video games you watch or you think you got magic powers, you come in, you're going to get beat up. Okay, it's normal and it's fine, and you're going to get over it. And most of them always cry in the beginning. That's fine. It's just a process of getting that wimpiness pushed out of you, right? And most young men and women never go through these rites of passage, which are so important, and then make them stronger to be able to stand up against evil. You can see the massive difference in those who don't do it and those who do it. Over time, you just see, they just start separating. They don't live in their head. You can't, if you do this kind of training, you can't just live in your head. You can't just live on the internet being a keyboard warrior. You can't just live in la la land. You have to be in reality. You got to be a real warrior in reality. You got to be confident that in different scenarios, whatever the scenario, you are at least somewhat prepared. What if you lose your firearm? What if you lose your knife? What if you lose your weapon? Well, you have to have the final back insurance, the final, backup, which is, of course, empty hands. So the whole training is based around this understanding, this ethos of course, training, developing multiple layers of defense, not for myself, but for my neighborhood. Love God, love your neighbor. That's like the core of peace militia training. I always is emphasizing to the young people, love God, love your neighbor. It doesn't mean you agree with your neighbor. Doesn't mean you even get along with your neighbor, but we have to love him enough that if he's being attacked, we have to go help him. And of course, this is what they're training at the microcosm. And of course, with the different, even within the microcosmic level, Korea, Japan, and now in America, you can see the different battles that are going on even amongst the adults. And the young people are saying, what the hell are these adults fighting about? We're all in the sanctuary. You know what I'm saying? The young people are saying, why are y'all fighting so much? Aren't you supposed to show the example? And I get it. There's a lot of wounds, a lot of scars from a lot of the past. And young people got to be compassionate about that. Because even though your parents may not be perfect, even though your community may not be perfect, you're not perfect either. Right? That's truth for young people. Yes or no? Yes. You're not perfect either. And people have to be able to work out their differences without everybody trying to get in and trying to split the community. Yep. Because that is a fallen Eve type of perspective. That's like the Han Mother's type perspective. We have to be, especially those under Father's authority, we don't turn our back on people we fight together with. Even though you may not like them, even though you may disagree with them, they're still our brother and their sister, right? Yes. And even Jesus said, love one another, because basically we're siblings before a true Father. Love one another, and how you love one another will show how much you love me in the world. Yes. That doesn't mean you have to agree with everybody. That doesn't mean, look, young people have to see it too. They can see that adults can disagree. Maybe sometimes get very passionate. Maybe cuss at each other a little bit. Many times guys cuss at each other, and it's not for other reasons. It's just they're just trying to show the emotional impact. But the young people have to be able to see that as a community, the adults can get over it. It's not a problem that people disagree. It's not a problem that daddy and mommy fight once in a while in your family, or they disagree. The problem is if the children don't see the resolution, that's a problem. Yep. And they slowly start seeing that marriage collapse and deteriorate. That's a problem. Yeah. But if you argue about something and then there's a resolution and then there's the proper order restored back, then the children can they can feel stable. They can feel loved. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we always say, you can fight, but don't kill each other. Right? Because it's, in the end, all of us, all of you, in all our imperfect ways, all the little quirks, all the little wackinesses that we all have, every single one, everybody here stood up for Father at the hardest hour. You can't take that away from anybody. So they may have this or that imperfection. They may have this problem that they've had long, deep-seated resentments, not only against family fathers. It may trace back all the way to their parents or grandparents and their childhood life. Yep. You know what I'm saying? It may trace back way back to when they're 3 years old and they still have not gone through that yet. Yep. The reason why they're acting out or doing stuff like that, right? Yep. But it is essential for those in the faith. In early Christianity talked about that. Those in the faith, not only test yourself to know that you're in the faith, but also love your brothers and sisters. Forgive one another. Yes, look, when these young people too, they're learning how to forgive too. Sometimes they train hard, they get their arms snapped. One of our boys are training with the other kids. They're training really hard. And this nice young boy, but he got caught. My son got caught in an armbar. Pop, 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 snapped his arm 3 times. He had been training for like a month. Because that happens when you're in the art of crippling. You're in the art of crippling and strangulation. You get crippled sometimes. Just like your daddy. Right? But that was a great lesson. And I was so impressed how he took it. He wasn't filled with anger. He said, you know what? That was very good for me. That was really good for me. And he's taking it in a very mature way. That's a warrior spirit. It's very good to see. You know what I'm saying? You see what I mean? So this is important. This is why I also want the older folks, come join us for military training. Don't worry, we won't break your arms and break your legs and stuff like that. Don't worry, we won't do that. Just come be in the environment with us. See what your kids are training. Spend time with me. Spend time with me in my environment. You see what I'm saying? Spend time with me on those mats, which is like the water. And the higher level guys are like sharks flying around that water. Spend time with us. You don't have to do it so you get hurt, but be a part of it. Go at your own pace. I would love it if Jamal and Lourdes and all these people training together. Robbie and John Claude, training together. In respect, on the mats. You know what I mean? You actually have to touch each other. And obviously not in a non-sexual way. You're trying to help each other become more strong. You get that skinship and contact. You remember, this is not only like people I meet at church. These people are like my partners. They're like valuable people to me. And then you start learning the ethic of start protecting your partners. Right? All you guys, now you guys getting better. Girls and boys learning very dangerous things. You see what happens. People get their arms crippled. People get their knees crippled. So you have to protect your training partners because they are, as you get higher, they are harder to find. Harder and harder to find. People who want to train with you with the super danger of crippling and strangulation always at the tip of the moment. Okay? But this is a very important thing. And of course, when we did it at church, I know a lot of the folks, the moms and dads here, would join us. But hey, you guys join us. Even if you watch, even if you just do the cardio, join us. Be a part of that culture. Nobody's going to push you beyond your physical limits. You got some back pains. We'll take it really slow. But you be part of that because you see the young people, how they're training. They're going to get, these are real fighting scenarios, so sometimes they get really emotional, charged up, they want to kill each other. But then through the training, they have to respect one another. You learn a warrior code, you become part of it, and you're not just hearing about it, you're actually seeing it, you're being involved in it, and just like at the Macrocosm, look at this, it's happening. He's trying to get a whole nation. I'm trying to get a whole nation, Chuniguk, to be part of this culture too, but y'all don't come sometimes. He's trying to get all sorts of nations trying to get ready in the warrior code. I'm trying to get Chuniguk into warrior code's ethics. But you can't do that by just hearing me talk about it. You see what I mean? But it's like so important because then we have consistency in how we are protecting one another. Especially when you learn very dangerous things together and you have to actually use a partner to do the dangerous things on. You develop a heart of compassion towards your partner. You develop a heart of empathy. You actually have to touch and have skinship with your partner, which makes you remember, this person's a human being. They're not just some type of internet voice or something. They're an actual human being, child of God. When you ladies get in a fight, and we know you guys fight a lot, but when you do kiss and make up and you hug each other, and then you're crying, ooh, that kind of thing. There's a real power in skinship, especially when there's repentance, right? So this kind of thing, Trump is trying to get whole nations involved in the able type samurai code. I'm trying to get the whole Chuniguk nation, world, in not only this mindset, but also to become actual practitioner too, at your own level. You don't have to do things that 20 years olds are doing, but you can be involved in it. Don't just think it's just for young people. You know what I mean? Join us. Spend time with me when we're doing this kind of training because this is so important. Let's do it, baby. That's what Howdy's son said. Let's do that. He said, I like that. I like that Malaysian accent. Woo. It's nice. Is it Vietnamese? I'm sorry. No, it's Malaysian. Vietnamese, I'm sorry, Vietnamese. It's so important. It is so important because, it's an atmosphere, it's a training ground where you're in Asian society, it calls dojang or dojo. You hear it most common in the West, dojo. It means dojang, the place of cleaning the Tao, the place of practicing the Tao, the way. Not only self-cultivation, but in Asia, the Tao means like trying to find God, trying to find the ultimate reality. It's not only like, oh, I'm practicing to become. No, you're trying to find God. And that's why Father always had that as like the central core. And of course, that's why firearms and then our whole Second Amendment culture and all the people and Christians and conservatives that are now getting connected with that, they also understand that whole culture because many of them did karate or different martial arts from the time they're like 5 years old because they wanted to raise their kids as sheepdog. We have Pastor Dave Zacher, is it Dave Zacher? And he's got like 200,000 views on some of his videos in Michigan. He's out there in Detroit. And he was talking, he did Tang Soo Do Korean martial arts since he was like 5 years old. So a lot of people understand this culture. They understand that a lot of the vets, a lot of the veterans that you meet in the Second Amendment community, they all been training like, karate or taekwondo or something when they were young. They developed a sheepdog mentality when their parents send them to like karate school. They may have not learned real fighting, but they learned sheepdog mentality. Do you see what I mean? And that's so important because without that sheepdog mentality, that warrior spirit, you're never going to be able to stand up. The communities of Chernihill will not be able to stand up against unrighteousness. And there's always going to be a divide about people who understand this culture and people who hear about it but don't really participate in it. But in Chernihill, that's going to be almost impossible because you are responsible for the defense of your own location. So you have to be training. The younger generation have to be training. They had to be part of that culture, that sheepdog culture that is trying to stave off tyrants, dictators, and predators like Trump is talking about to the nation of Japan to do that against North Korea. Isn't it interesting how this is like micro, macro, micro, macro? He's literally using the same language as us now. I think it would be so healthy. One of the things you learn in these kind of real martial arts, and the ones you have to really do combat and you have to really do fighting, is you learn you cannot go this path alone. That's something you learn. All these young people, they know. They need me. They need me bad. They can't improve without me. They can watch videos, they can do this, but unless I'm there fixing their details and showing them why this doesn't work, they cannot improve as fast. They need an instructor. You need a qualified instructor. You realize in life, you can't just learn things and do everything alone. You need to seek out qualified people to learn from in order to gain those skills. Now, how important is that for life? Like to humble yourself that much thinking, no, I can't do all this. I have to seek qualified instructors. I have to be able to discern between who's qualified and who's not. Who's a charlatan, who's not. You see what I'm saying? Like how important is that skill for business? Any of you did businesses or lawyer, how important is that? That's a very important skill. But you learn that, and so there's a deep sense of respect and appreciation. Even though they don't tell me all the time, I know they deeply appreciate the type of training that I'm giving them. Ricky was just sharing, we were with the Panzers the other day, and he was just sharing when he was in Brooklyn, I think he's there now, but when he was in Brooklyn, he's like, man, people pay good money for this. They pay like $70 a class for this. So when he came training, he was like, I saw the value there. He's like, holy Shemitah, man, this is incredible. And I was in Brooklyn, I got to pay $70 freaking to do a stupid bike cardio class. I mean, these younger kids don't know because they never lived in Brooklyn or different places where they have to pay for this stuff, and especially high-level instruction like this. You understand, I trained with Gary Tony. He's the world champion. The type of detail they're getting is incredible. But it was nice, of course, for me who's doing it for the young kids. And I don't see it like I'm doing it for free. I'm just trying to empower them because I know they're going to be grateful in the end, even though they might not be now, and most of them are now. But in the end, they'll realize the value. They'll realize how they can change lives and empower people. I see the kids even in Thailand, and they're teaching the Thailand sanctuary kids, they were teaching them a little self-defense training. Because at 16, 17 years old, you really don't have enough wisdom to be able to lecture people about DP or talk about this or that. But you can train young people in self-defense. You have something to give them when you go somewhere. Nobody's going to be listening to you talking about, oh, I'm 16, and yeah, you know, when I went to this movie, and that was like the hardest part of my life. And no, nobody's going to listen to that. Okay? But they may listen to you talking about, this is how you apply this technique. You see, they can give something to that community, which is directly connected to Chinese culture, which is directly connected to raising up new sheepdogs and new generation, to be directly connected to having proper amygdala function, being able to discern between right and wrong. It's a part of a culture, folks. It's a part of a civilization, not something that's entertaining to listen to. I know I rant and rave and I'm entertaining sometimes when I scream and shout, but it's not just meant for your entertainment pleasure, okay? I'm actually trying to talk to you. I'm actually trying to communicate some important things to you, okay? So that's what you can do. You can participate in that culture. Don't just send your kids, but you come too. You'll see, you'll start mellowing out. You may be a very conflicting person, may want to fight with everybody. But as you train, 1 year go by, 2 year, you will see you will mellow out. Because all those chokeholds on the neck, they tend to change you over time. they mellow you out a little bit. One thing that's great, and you can see, one thing that's amazing is that you have people that think they're very strong. And many times they have strong potential. But they come in thinking they're very strong, and then they get beat by very small people. They're like, how is that possible? I mean, they literally get dominated, okay? It's different when you're doing this grappling art where you have to actually give up to somebody. It's not like fencing where I can get you sometimes if I'm lucky. I can even get a master if I'm really, really lucky. Okay? But in these kind of grappling arts, submission grappling arts, you cannot get lucky. You can't get lucky with somebody who's very skilled. It's not possible. You can't get lucky. Whatever you try, they already know what you're doing. And whatever you try, it's already blocked and dominated, and something else is coming on top of you. Right? You guys experience that. You cannot get lucky. So you have to come in direct confrontation with the fact that, boy, I suck. I really am bad. I thought I was strong. I thought I was an alpha. I really am weaker than I thought. And for that, not only young people, but anybody who's never gone through that rite of passage, that is such an important thing because then you start seeing yourself in reality. And you have a deep consequence. If you don't see that reality, you'll either get a limb crippled or you'll get choked to unconscious state. So there's a real world consequence which you have to pay for if you continue to cling on to a false identity of yourself. And so thus I see this training as such a spiritual training. Because in the end, you have to kill that ego. You have to kill it. And that's why you meet at the highest level these dangerous fighters, and they're the nicest guys. I mean, they're so humble. Even though many of them at the top, UFC and stuff like that, they're trying to sell the fights, so they'll, pick on each other and say, come on, let's fight. It's more like they're doing that to sell the fight. But when you train with them, they're extremely helpful, extremely dangerous, dominating, but they're humble as well. You can see how they listen to their instructors. You can see how they treat their coaches. Tremendous respect. Even though they can actually destroy their coaches, they still listen. They don't get arrogant. You see what I'm saying? It's a very fascinating thing. And that's why, of course, Father wanted us to train the entire world movement, especially young people, with this type of training. fishing, hunting, all this kind of thing. But also, you all know you have to exercise anyway, so might as well do it while at the same time participating in Chinese culture and people military instead of just sending your kids. You come too. Have fun. We have a great time. You have a great time, and you actually have to touch each other, so you won't be able to, you'll realize, oh, these people some people that I fight with all the time, hey, it's an actual human being. You have to hug them, and then take them down and land on them softly, There's a different level of skinship you have to do with your people, and then you learn you have to protect these people. And you learn that even though you're emotional and you're upset, you can't unleash it on there. You get in trouble. You'll get in trouble by the instructor. So this is important. That's why we want to include you guys when we go fishing, when we go hunting, when we go to Maine trip, when we go have lobster in Maine and bushcrafting. We want to include you, not just your children, because all of you have to be part of the nation of Chaniguk. Just like Trump is trying to wake up a nation. He's not just saying, young people, you are samurais, so why don't you shoot down the thing? He's saying, Japan, all of you, young and old, you're all descendants of samurai. You all should stand up for your country. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You all need to stand up for China. You all need to be part of it. And you can do it at your own pace and your own speed. That's fine. Nobody's going to push you out of the limits of your physical nature or the level you're at physically. But it will be wonderful to have everybody participating and spending time together, young and old. It doesn't matter. It's beyond race. It's beyond age. It's beyond all that. We're participating in God's culture of protecting, loving God, loving our neighbor. Preparing ourselves so we love God, we love our neighbor. I love it when I see the kids come with their mom. It's fantastic. I love it. It's fantastic. I don't want you to just drop your kids off and go have a hamburger. Why don't you burn off some of those calories and do something healthy for yourself? You know you have to do it. You know you got clogged arteries and diabetes anyways. So do it. Be part of it. It's not only healthy for you, it's good for your culture. You're helping imbue the young people with strength so they know that even though you can't physically do all the things they may be able to do, you are trying your best to be participants of Chaniguk. And that physical motion of getting up and doing it stimulates your mental motion of trying to apply Chaniguk into your life. When's training? Tuesdays, 7 p.m. and also Wednesday, 7 p.m. Okay? So we love to have you guys. We love to have everybody here. Especially, I'm going to tell you, Jamal Lourdes, maybe I should make it mandatory for Jamal. No, they're not fighting anymore. Okay? How about this? The rule, anybody is attacking each other online, both of you have to train with me. And I'll make you training partners. How's that? Hey, that's a good, that'll be healthy. You have to hug each other. You gotta sit on each other and pretend to punch each other. We do it in a safe environment, but we do it where we do it like family. Like family. My boys, like any children, there's competition, but through the practice of training, they've mellowed out on that competition so much. You know what I mean? Because they're boys are competitive and they want to beat each other up, and the younger always wants to be able to beat the older, right? And the older is always annoyed by the younger. But then by training together, they realize, we have to take care of one another. It takes the family to a deeper level, and you actually have to touch each other. So you have to have skinship, which makes you remember that this person is a human being too. They're not some visceral, inanimate enemy that you have to fight and be jealous of or, be against. They're a human being too. So it's interesting that this is happening now, and I'm also making the call now. Trump is making this call, and I'm making the call. Of course, even though we're training with the young people, we want everybody to be involved in this. All right, that's enough of that. But look at this. After the whole situation with True Mother being substantiated, One thing I love about Kyle, too, who's getting blessed today, wonderful man. He trekked the Rocky Mountains, tough guy, wonderful man of God. But he really is adopted. He's a businessman. He's a successful young man. But he's completely inheriting the Chinese culture. You know, he sees a firearms training and a jiu-jitsu training, and he made Diala promise to him that she's going to be part of the training and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Isn't that wonderful? Let's give it up for Mr. Yoda over there, young man. Hey, haven't seen him in a while. But that's so important because we don't want to see our men or women become weak. Because if you become weak and you become betas, guess what? You'll have an alpha predator that takes you over. We want our women to be alpha women and our men to be alpha males. Then both of you together can stand against Satan. But again, stand in the proper order before God. And that is so opposite to this culture. Look at this culture. See, this is the culture of the actual elites that rule the world, and that's how coming out this week. And this demon, this little perverted, weak, pathetic banker, this disgusting, drooling, wide-eyed little gremlin, is into committing acts of sexual assault on women, luring them with other models into his pleasure palace in the New York City, subjecting them to sexual assault, rape, false imprisonment, and beating them so severe they would lose consciousness, and one had to undergo reconstructive surgery in her breast because he was hitting her breast so hard her actual implant flipped in her breast. So he was literally beating her as he's banging her. I mean, these people are free. You understand, folks? And this is like one of the top Wall Street people. This guy works for a fund directly under George Soros. I mean, directly for George Soros. You see what these elites are into? And it's not only them. This is coming out in the midst of all the pedophile scandals that are coming out of Hollywood, raping the 14-year-old boy, Kevin Spacey, the predator, who now lost his contract with Netflix, right? Because he's been raping 14-year-old boys. And Hollywood is going after they're not just after the girls, they're after boys. And this kind of demonic thing is coming out to the open now. See, Satan cannot hide the source of his power anymore. Satanic rituals which are surrounded around these type of deviant, bad sex, false sex, evil sex, free sex culture and rituals, in which he gets his power from defiling and destroying innocence and youth, is now coming out in the open. All this stuff is now coming out in the open. There's no place to hide anymore for these elites and the Hollywood cults. Noonday sun is here. So you have this guy directly, not Alex Jones, of course. But you have that pedophile George Soros hedge fund manager who has now been exposed. And probably he has billions of dollars, so he's probably going to just shut them up about it. But anyways, they're at least alleging the fact that he's raping women, and one of the girls says when he was raping her, he was saying, "I rape you like I rape my daughter." Openly bloating, bragging about how they rape their daughters. And you're a normal person, so you can't understand this level of deviance and evil, but they're so sold out and so sucked with Satan that they can't see a limit on the bad sex. You see what I'm saying? It just starts as cheating, and then it starts with another girl, then it starts with an orgy, and then it's a threesome, and then it's a blah, 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 and then it's a bisexual, and then it's a transgender, and then you see what I'm saying? And it just keeps going, until they're doing what Alex is talking about right now. Let's see this clip. Go ahead, play that clip.
And again, these are Renfields. Renfield supplied
get the lights.
people
Get the lights over there.
I told you that 6 months ago that people like Weinstein's are Renfields, the producers, the people behind them. There it is, Soros fund manager accused of raping, torturing victims in sex dungeon, had a whole building he had for it. Woman claims prominent trader also bragged about raping his own daughter. And of course, he's a high-up operative of guess who, ladies and gentlemen? A guy that told 60 Minutes, I'm not ashamed of being a Nazi. I just did what the market said. If I didn't do it, somebody else would do it. Just look at that ghoulish
New York
look in
Post
these
has to
guys'
report that. Look at
eyes.
that. New York Post. All the top news has to report it.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. We now take you live to the front lines of the war to restore human dignity and turn the tide against the architects of doom, the architects of the 21st century world government authoritarian technocracy plan. I'm your host, Alex Jones, and this is the InfoWar. Newswars.com, prisonplanet.com, and Infowars.com are our websites, always under attack. We're here out of basic survival, not out of chivalry, not out of heroism, but out of simple survival. And the minute you realize the globalists are like a suffocating force, choking the life out of humanity, you realize there's the great liberation of just fighting back and turning the tide and seeing the fear begin to enter the eyes of our enemies as we bear down. Even as their knives go into us, we just keep pressing until their necks break. Stand up bleeding, more enemies come. But like the phoenix, our wounds are healed. This is the great animating contest. And all we've got to do is realize our enemies are very weak and have sold a giant con game. You know, I've talked about Hollywood and the degeneracy, the arrogance, because only people that want to sell out America, only people that are scum are accepted basically at the heights of Hollywood. And if they catch you trying to be a libertarian, a Christian, a conservative, an Orthodox Jew, whatever it is, if it doesn't want to defile the population, they want to get rid of you. And now, as the ship begins to sink, let's put this up on screen if we can. Harvey Weinstein photographed the prescription drug haul. And it is a briefcase literally loaded with every prescription drug you could imagine under the sun. Thousands and thousands of tablets. Uppers, downers. You better believe ecstasy. Whole 9 yards. Ladies and gentlemen, these are delusional, drugged out, whacked out individuals. I've been at Hollywood parties with cases just like this are popped open. People say, what do you want? And I'm like, I'm going back to my hotel. You have a good night. I mean, as bad as I get, it's a couple shots at Jack Daniels or Jameson's, and I don't even do that anymore. But can you imagine the mindset of these people and what the women out there to get opioids that'll have their teeth removed just to get one more bottle or get back surgery to get another bottle? I mean, this is just total pell-mell decadence. And then they want to foist it all on us as an act of domination. But the Weinsteins are the Renfields put in charge by the real Draculas that you don't ever see who are behind the scenes. But why is he coming down? NYPD detective, there is enough evidence to arrest Weinstein. Now they've completely suspended production on final season of House of Cards, as it's reported that Kevin Spacey would run up and grab men's genitals in front of everyone and ask to have sex with them. And again, they're only trying to flood the consciousness with this to stop the pedophilia. What did I tell you over and over again months ago and years
CNN
ago?
reporting that. Look at that.
Harassment of women,
forced to
which is
report
not
it.
good, is the cover for the rape of women. But then they only cover the harassment to cover up the real epidemic. In the elites, not the general public. They say there's an epidemic in the general public when it's really in the elites. Then it's really men trying to rape men in Hollywood, 8 to 2. That's about the consensus. 80% of it's men trying to rape men with power lust. It's about power. Psychopaths like Spacey and others. It's all just about do whatever you want, do as thou wilt, stomp around, you're in charge. And then below that, you get into the pedophilia, and then you get into the snuff films and the devil worship. So the bottom of the rat hole is snuff films and is devil worship. But here's the thing. Most people involved in that can't speak out because they're accomplices to it, even if they just knew and didn't say anything out of fear. But I'm predicting that within the next 6 months, ritual murder and actual rape of toddlers as young as 2 years of age will come out, because we know it's what they do. Artist claims, let's put that back on screen. Kevin Spacey tried to rape him when he was 15. Oh, it's another one. I would call him a pedophile and a sexual predator, the unnamed, now 48-year-old man told Vulture. And it's all coming out. For every person that refused, 10 got held down and raped. And Disney and Nickelodeon and all of these things, the soda clubs, they were called in L.A. for kids, where they got to come in, they were little actors and meet with other producers and people, and the whole thing was a pickup scene for kids. And they'd say, you're a little old for me, 15. What's your little brother like? He's 9 years old? And we can make you a big star, but I really don't want to have sex with you, they'd tell them. No, I want your 5-year-old sister. And then they'd meet with the parents that want child stars and say, listen, you want your kid to make a couple $100,000 a year, maybe make millions a year? I want your 3-year-old daughter. You're going to be accomplices to it. In fact, you're going to join me. And I've got stacks of news here today where major Soros brokerage firm heads and others would brag to friends, hey, I don't just screw kids and torture women. I rape my daughter. That's in the news today. Now, you want to know the people working for mainstream media that cover up for this? When guys are at public parties bragging, hey, I raped my little daughter. What do you think they want to do to you and your family? These are guys with briefcases full of pills. And again, these are Renfields. Renfield supplied people to Dracula. Now, I told you that 6 months ago that people like Weinstein's are Renfields, the producers. The people behind them. There it is, Soros fund manager accused of raping, torturing victims in sex dungeon. Had a whole building he had for it. Woman claims prominent trader also bragged about raping his own daughter. And of course, he's a high-up operative of, guess who, ladies and gentlemen? A guy that told 60 Minutes, I'm not ashamed of being a Nazi. I just did what the market said. If I didn't do it, somebody else would do it. Just look at that ghoulish look in these guys' eyes. And the women, too, man. You go to these parties, they're all glared up with that evil. They've all done it. And they're all just glaring about how it's all about them. They always have the same look. Camera, please. Can't do the exact look because I don't have the total spirit of it, but I can imitate it more like a, oh, look how big we are. Look how great. We can do whatever we want. How many years ago did I tell you that's the look? Go to a Hollywood party and tell, hello, Alex. Are you ready to have some fun? No, I'm going to leave now. I'm like, are you space aliens? What's up with you people? I mean, that's what I picked up. It was like aliens vacation here or something and like jack into their minds or something and then rape and kill. I mean, it's just like Predator, but instead of it being like he hunts in the jungle, he just jacks in and possesses somebody and then they just run around doing this and like, this is the alien invasion. I mean, I'm not literally saying that, but you know what? If it turns out, it's like Rowdy Piper says in They Live, he goes, look at this formaldehyde face with these sunglasses. I knew it'd be something like this. I mean, really at a gut level, that's what, I mean, why would you have whole groups of people that want to devil worship and rip little kids' tongues out? I mean, you know. They've always got like real weak little demon Slimer creatures like Weinstein going, It's kind of their little front goblins. I'm up against these people, though, and you know they hate us. They're coming after us, and that's fine. I just want to win in the fight. We need you to go to InfoWarsStore.com. We usually get products, books, videos, T-shirts. Sign up for auto ship, 10% off. DNA Forces back in. You owe it to yourself, your family to get it. It's amazing, 25% off. Biome Defense, the amazing probiotic, back in, 25% off. We got a bunch of specials ending on Anthroplex, the male-female enhancement, stamina, libido, you name it, and a bunch of other stuff ends this weekend. DNA Force will continue for maybe another week or so, as well as Biome Defense, but it's hard to source, so please take advantage of it today. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. We have the producer from the Open Secret film about Hollywood pedophilia coming up. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just so insane that it's hard for me to even cover, but it's information that everybody's got to face and deal with. In the last segment, I was getting into top hedge fund managers, buddies with Soros, reportedly with dungeons, bragging about raping their young daughters. That's in the news. You've got Harvey Weinstein photographed with prescription drug haul, a giant attaché case full of every drug you can imagine. And I was saying, you wait. In the next 6 months, it's going to come out that they're doing child snuff films in Hollywood. Well, that's because I know it's going to come out, because in Italy, in Russia, in Australia, in the Philippines, in Canada, in the U.S. and Chicago, other areas, there have been real snuff films. And they sell them for $10,000 VHS. I talked about that a few weeks ago. And Nico Acosta, the lead producer, ran in here and said, read your file today. This is what your guest, the producer of the film, A Open Secret's coming on about. He goes, he wants to get into Peter Scully, accused child abuser, may still be masterminding porn network. He's been arrested. We'll show people some images of this monster. I can't even read to you the stuff that's on here, but it's 18-month-old babies being raped and then dismembered. Okay? And it was so shocking for a long time, people thought it was an urban legend, even though it was in the news, and he got busted for doing it. They all have that same look. That guy's gone, man. That is a Renfield. That is a Zombo Procure. Look at that. Man, that is the face of a soul-sucked creature. I'll be honest, when I look at his face, I just think about a ball-peen hammer. I'm not a sadist unless there are people like that, and then I have serious desire. Because they desire to hurt children and torture them to death. I have desire to pull their teeth out with pliers. But I'm going to stop right there, ladies and gentlemen. They need to be brought to justice. No cruel and unusual punishment work. I turn into what we're fighting. But I tell you, as a father of four, it outrages me. And it just goes into the whole situation. We'll cover it coming up in the next segment. Arrest and trial. The most heinous of his output was entitled Daisy's Destruction, which sold to clients for $10,000 apiece, made in 2012. The multiple-part film is so extreme that it was for some time regarded as an urban legend. Now it's known to be true. It features the torture and brutal rape and a number of girls by Scully and some Filipina accomplices, the three biggest victims of whom were Lizzie, age 12, there's also some death, Cindy, 11, and Daisy, 18 months old. Daisy. And it just goes on, arrest and trial, and again, that's just what he got busted for. So you need to understand, about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, national 60 Minutes equivalent television showed blurred out footage of 3 toddler boys being brutally raped, gang raped by dozens of men, screaming, begging for mommy, and then their .357 Magnums blow their heads off. And it's real. That was shot in Russia somewhere, dealt out of Italy, and then sold thousands of copies for $10,000 a piece on VHS for Hollywood elites to watch it. Because imagine when you're people like Weinstein. I'm not saying he's involved. I'm not saying that. I'm saying people like the drugs, the women, all of it. You've got to always have something more. There it is, Daily Mail. Beyond evil, pedophile gang who rape babies and toddlers and stream their vile crimes on the internet to sex abusers around the world are jailed for 78 years. See, and all this keeps coming out and is accelerating now. And how do they respond? They just say, there is no child molestation. The Catholic Church never did it. The deputy pope hasn't been arrested, even though he has been. And then they'll use a few mistakes people have investigated to go, look, it doesn't exist. And you got to wonder who's running around foaming at the mouth so hard to say none of it exists and none of it's going on. It's the very same people caught in Aleister Crowley rituals in the WikiLeaks, so they promise blood and semen will be at the event for their enjoyment.
Okay, enough of that. So you can see just this week, that now is coming out. Peter Scully. The reality of Peter Scully. So the pedophilia networks in Harvey Weinstein and James Pollock and Kevin Spacey wasn't just about having all these women that they were harassing and grown women. Then it came out Kevin Spacey is raping 14-year-old boys. Then that pedo movie came out, remember, that we saw during service, 2 weeks ago? Remember, where the documentary, and now the Open Secret documentary guys have more, and they're talking about this guy, Peter Scully, who was arrested for raping and murdering an 18-month-old baby, folks. Baby. 18, what is that? That's 1 year and 6 months old. Raping and murdering that baby. That guy's in prison. And then he should be dead. But this is now what's coming out. This is what the Hollywood elite are into. And of course, Hollywood is connected to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is connected to, London. London's connected to the European pedophile networks, connected to the Thailand pedophile network. All those networks working together. And of course, at the UN, Rothschild groups, all those super elites involved in this. Once you sell yourself out to Satan and your soul is sucked out, it just becomes one more deviant act, one more adrenaline thrill after another, try to get more and more deviant, more and more evil. And people used to be able to say, well, you're crazy if you even think this exists. Now CNN is even forced to report about this now. So what can you say now? Now even the mainstream media, whom these lunatics and these brainwashed people try to defend, have to report about it. You see what's happening? The noontime sun. The harlot of Babylon and the culture of the fallen Eve is disintegrating. Because why? It's being pulled out to the open. It's being pulled out to the noontime sun. The light of God is being able to shine on this and say, look, these are the people you're trying to work for. These are the people you're trying to sell your soul out to work in Hollywood and to work at CBS and NBC and CNN for. These are the people that you are eventually beholden to. If you're in Black Lives Matter or Open Society Foundation or what's the other one? Move on to Antifa. In the end, you're protecting these people who are watching snuff films of 18-month-old babies being raped and then get their heads blown off for $10,000. Do you see what's happening? All the hidden things are coming out. Because Satan has no more place to hide. He cannot hide his deviance. He cannot hide his bad sex culture. He cannot hide where free sex actually leads to when you continue going down that road. You become literally Satan on earth. That road of just thinking it's cool to go to parties and have sex with other people and not have one partner and one married couple. That road leads to this. Various degrees, but it's the same road. It's that free sex culture Father talks about all the time, which of course ends up in not only pedophilia. They're talking about necrophilia. They're talking about killing children and having sex with them. That's out by the London Police Department about Sir Edward Heath, the former Prime Minister of the UK, was a necrophile. He was killing children and having sex with dead bodies. That's London police. And the New York Post and all the mainstream media had to carry it at least once in one of the small pages that they put a little column. But they had to cover it. See, all their secrets are coming out. No more place to hide. They said for decades and decades, while they're brainwashing the kids, bring them to Disneyland and Disney World and Disney Channel and all that stupid stuff, where they have the producer. Remember the guy who was a pedophile in that movie documentary that was raping and molesting the children? He still works for companies like Nickelodeon and Disney. Still. They still hire these people to do their whatever, stage managing, director, choreography, whatever. They're still using them. And they're convicted pedophiles. You see that? You can't. It's incredible. Did you ever hear this stuff on the main news ever in your lifetime? Never. CNN is now forced to report. You never heard about this. Never. Because they're all covering it up. And why does it happen to blow up right after 9/23? Literally right after 9/23. It was hidden all these years, didn't blow up in 82, it didn't blow up in 85, it didn't blow up in 93, it didn't blow up in 2001, it didn't blow up in 2011. It blew up 9/23/2017 after the true mother took her place next to the true father. The pedophile network's going down, burning. That's the height. It's the height of Luciferianism, is what Satan was after while he was after them, trying to do the satanic rituals on that, Adam and Eve, as the first pedophile, as the first monster that's trying to rape and ravage these children and destroy their future. You saw what ravaging it does. Remember that documentary? How those kids 30 years later are still devastated by this? One of them was handicapped. You saw him, right? He's completely handicapped because he had overdose. And now he's recovering, but he's still totally handicapped. All this wickedness and evil is coming out in the real world. You can see the harlot of Babylon culture is dying. It's starting to burn. And you can, of course, see that happening in the microcosm as well. Now, I'm not going to go through in detail all of Revelation 17. We already read it, okay? You all know what it's about. But you can see how at the micro and the macro, look at those scriptures, how she is getting burned up. And look at this. Let me bring attention to the end of the chapter. And the 10 horns, which was part of the beast. Remember, she's out there with the purple and the gold and all this stuff. And we see the picture of Han Mother declaring herself empress and all this kind of stuff. And she's literally wearing those colors. And then she's sitting on the beast. Remember that we saw actually the family fed sign symbol looks like 10 horns and 7 heads. If you actually see the picture. And it's the one that Father got rid of to put our Tommy Mark Chaniguk flag up. The 10 horns who saw us upon the beast, here I point the point here. I can't point it over there. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Even the beast that she's riding on turns against her. You see that right in the macro. The beast that Hillary Clinton, as a harlot of Babylon, the macro was riding, is now turning against her and killing her, is burning her alive. Even the family fraud from the inside out is starting to throw Han Mother under the bus, saying that she's senile. They can't deny they're saying it because they're saying it. They can only deny it to the slaves because slaves will believe anything the family fraud says. Otherwise, they don't get their money, which of course is drying up. And the more they do to try to steal, the more they try to do to sell off all the assets to get off with the money and loot it, the more they get exposed. And that's what happened. They're now in a rock and hard place. They are now being completely exposed. And their internal leadership is already stabbing Han Mother in the back because she trusted a den of thieves. And there's no honor in a den of thieves. And so you have leaders in the family fraud who are following Father for this however long, divorced now, married with outside women, and still employed as their top leaders. You have no standard in the family fraud now. Absolutely none. They can do whatever they want. And of course, look what happens. The 10 horns, which I saw, the own beast that she trusted, comes against her and burns her with fire. Destroys the culture of the fallen Eve. This is what happens when you sell yourself for power. Sell yourself out to be dishonorable. Sell yourself out to be a lowlife, and sell yourself out to be a monger, a lust monger, a money monger. This is what you get. And especially as you try to make the world worship you as a god in the fallen Eve culture. I mean, when Reverend Peterson heard what she was saying about the only begotten daughter and saying she's God, he just started, he just started laughing. Because it's so ridiculous. And which a woman that saw is the great city which reigned over the kings of the earth. And of course, you see that whole kingdom, that whole Babylon network, that whole macrocosmic pedophile network, in which Hillary Clinton was connected. She was going to Lolita Island with Jeff Epstein, a convicted pedophile, to his island, a billionaire who owns the island out there, having sex adventures to the stupid island. Bill Clinton went over 20 times, Hillary went over 6 times. Kevin Spacey was also on that plane. So isn't it funny? All those stars all coming on being as pedophiles, and Hillary Rodham Clinton and Bill Clinton right smack dab in the middle of it. Hollywood is burning, baby. The entire worldwide pedophile network, Satanist network, Luciferian network is all burning down. It's coming out, being exposed. This is the last of the day. You've never seen this in your lifetime, folks, in your lifetime. This is incredible time to be alive, that we are witnessing these type of historic changes. And look at this. It's all based on that battle. Good sex versus bad sex. Yep. You see how bad sex becomes with those George Soros managers and all these pedophiles and all these snuff films. That's how evil bad sex become. It just starts with, oh, you don't need to just have a husband, or you don't need to have a wife. You should have play around. Be free. It starts there, but it doesn't end there. It ends up with these demons. These little gremlins, these little wide-eyed, little wiry, little sick little golems. What's that thing in the Lord of the Rings, that nasty little golem? These little golems ruling over you, you know, saying that they rape their daughter as they rape you and flip your breast implants. Not saying you have breast implants, okay? Speaking generally. Totally insane. But you can see how unbelievable this is. It's like literally like living in some kind of movie or something. This is crazy. The type of stuff is coming out now. How crazy is it, right? It's insane. This stuff is coming out. CNN is having to cover this. It's incredible. Incredible. You see Satan's kingdom is collapsing. Do you understand? Satan's kingdoms are held together by this type of deviant sex. You understand? That's how they blackmail each other, as Alex was talking about. They make you do it together with them so that you can never blackmail them. You become part of the ritual where you're all raping the girl, you're all raping the kid, whatever. And now you can never get out. That's how the elite are held together, by bad sex, rituals, and cults. Now we see why Father's talking about a blessing, why he's talking about absolute sex, why he was, even though people say, oh, I should talk like that, so all the people are going to be so offended. He says, shut up. It's about absolute sex, because he knew the reality. That's why there's rejoicing when there's a blessing, because this is the real civilization, real culture that defeats Satan. Oh, golly. This is why I have high blood pressure, okay? Do I have high blood pressure? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's why I train a lot. It's healthy. All right, SOS, come on up. We have much to praise God about. Satan's kingdoms are dying. They're burning and dying. And God's kingdom is coming. All right, 134 is Chun and Hyung. But due to the false read together, Satan became the Lord of the world. This became unavoidable. If a girl of noble birth who was raised within the walls of her house is violated by an intruder, to whom is she bound? She will be bound to him. This is what happened with the fall. Adam could have been the king of heaven, and Eve his queen. Thank God for the King of Kings and all the kings and queens of Chuniagu. We're back, baby, and Satan's kingdoms will die. Let's all rise, give glory to God, and praise his name.
Let's praise God today, and please give us your help as you saw with the Chunyagung National Anthem. We need help. Thank you.
so my soul longeth after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You're my friend, and you are my brother, even though you are a king. I love you more than any other, so much more than anything. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. I love you more than gold or silver, only you can satisfy. You alone are the root, joy giver, and the apple of my eye. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. And I long to worship thee. If the trip you're traveling gets long, wishing for a new day to come. When the sun rises in the morning, we'll sail and move on, and we'll be sailing with our Father. You know His ship will never sway. Oh, new home on the horizon. We found the promised land today. Look out with joy in your eyes. The winds of truth will guide our way. Leaving behind the raging sea. Always love will sail away, and we'll be sailing with our Father. You know His ship will never sway. Oh, new home on the horizon. know his ship will never sway. Oh, new hope on the horizon. We found the promised land today. We found the promised land today. Was lost, I was in chains, all had a hold of me. My heart was a stone, I was covered in shame. When he came for me, I couldn't run from his presence. I couldn't run from his arms. Jesus, he loves me, he loves me, he is for me. Jesus, how can it be? He loves me, he is for me. I was fire deep in my soul. I'll never be the same. Stepped out of the dark and into the light. He called my name. I couldn't run from his presence. I couldn't run from his arms. Jesus, he loves me, he loves me, he is for me. Jesus, how can it be? He loves me, he is for me. He holds the stars and he holds my heart with healing hands that bear the scars. The rugged cross where he died for me, my only hope, my everything. Jesus, he loves me, he loves me, he is for me. Jesus, how can it be? He loves me, he is for me.
Marching to the blessed land of Canaan with the light. We're leaving all our heavy burdens here. At last we are released and free from being slaves to sin. We're marching to the blessed spring of life. Heading to the spring where living water flows. In glory we'll be living evermore. Going to the land where freely flows the spring. In glory we'll be living evermore. Oh, guide us with your pillars, Lord, of fire and of cloud. Oh, give us paths to follow with our lives. The moment that we cross the Jordan River is at hand. We're coming to the blessed spring of life. Coming to the spring where living water flows. In glory we'll be living evermore. oh, we will be living evermore. Our thirsting hearts receive with joy the manna from above. The precious food will always be our strength. So if the future finds us lacking, we will not despair. We're coming to the blessed spring of life. Coming to the spring where living water flows. And oh, we will be living evermore. Coming to the land where freely flows the spring. And oh, we will be living evermore.
One more time.
Coming to the spring where living water flows. And oh, we will be living evermore. Coming to the land where freely flows the spring. And oh, we will be living evermore. And oh, we will be living
So for this next song, I'd like to explain a little bit. I meant to change the title, but I forgot. So what we did is we took Amazing Grace and No Longer Slaves and combined them together. So what we'll do is we'll sing the verse of Amazing Grace, and then when it gets to the chorus, we sing I am no longer a slave to fear. Okay? Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I'm no longer a slave. 'Cause I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am
a child of God.
I'm no longer a slave to fear. I
am a child of God.
Grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. 'Cause I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. No longer. I am a child of God. The Lord has promised His good to me. His will, my hope secures. He will, my shield and portion be. As long as life endures. 'Cause I'm no longer a slave to fear, no longer a slave. I am a child of God. 'Cause I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God.
I am surrounded
by the arms of the Father. I am surrounded by your love,
by songs of
deliverance. Oh, 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 oh. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. I am a child of God. I am a child of God. One more time. I am a child of God. The earth shall soon dissolve like snow. The sun forbears to shine. And God who called me here below will be forever mine. Will be forever mine. You are forever mine.
하나님 왕권수리 승리 만세. 만왕 왕 전진 장모님 3대 왕권 만세. 천일국 창건 만세. 아주 아주 아주. Hug your neighbor. Welcome them today in the house of God.